His little cowlick was cute standing straight up. The John Lennon spectacles reinforced the boyish aspect. The problem was that his sermons tended to drone on until Georgia felt this terrible urge to rush out the door. If only Eugene would thumb through the Reader's Digest once in a while, find something halfway witty or clever to keep a person awake, not intimately focused on the rivulet trickling down the valleys of her silky underthings. Georgia's mother had a saying on the subject of sweating in church. Sweating like a... Georgia flipped to that card in her mental Rolodex, but it came up blank. She was turning up more of these blank cards lately. Was that a normal sign of aging? Or beginning to age? She was hardly old enough to start worrying about that. There was not a trace of gray in her naturally blonde and beautiful hair. 34 is not even old. But then, it's not as young as 33, and a good bit older than 29, the last age she remembered not thinking constantly about her age. She had noticed the trend in that department, and it was not good. The numbers all seemed headed in one depressing direction, up. She saw how a person could become obsessed. Georgia had not quite admitted to herself that getting older was something that would actually happen to her. Just because everyone else did it didn't mean she had to. Perhaps it was one of those things you could prevent if you ignored it hard enough. That was one secret to Georgia's cheerfulness. She thought about the things she wanted to think about and blotted out everything else. Another secret? She was the exception to most rules. A woman without a husband isn't supposed to be happy, but Georgia was. A woman alone is not supposed to have fun, but Georgia had it all and then some. Women are supposed to hate the idea of getting older, but Georgia knew she would be fine if it ever did happen to her. She would give up makeup and dieting, sit all day in front of the TV, happily eating peanut M&Ms. Hell, bring it on. Just not yet. She wasn't ready quite yet. There was still a bit of juice in the lemon. She had plenty of time to chase the question out of her mind, while Eugene Hendricks took a detour around the subject of what kind of stamps Paul might have used on his letter to the Ephesians. There were plenty of things everybody believed in, but not Georgia. She never missed a Sunday in church. There had to be other doubters in the crowd, but Georgia was fairly certain she was the only one who attended every Sunday without believing a single word of it. Not God, not Jesus, not the Bible, not one word of the whole fantastic giant marshmallow everyone else had swallowed whole. What a whopper! God talks from the sky in the voice of John Huston, nails his son to a cross to save you. Yeah, and I've got a bridge here I think you might like. Every Sunday morning at 5 minutes to 10, Georgia sailed through the First Baptist vestibule looking for all the world like a true believer. If that made her a hypocrite, so be it. She was in good company. Everybody else gave the appearance of believing, but in their day-to-day lives, she knew they were no godlier than she was. She hugged and howdied her way to the fourth pew, seated herself among the believers. She bowed her head in a practiced imitation of prayer. She mouthed the words to the hymns in case anyone was watching. In 6 points, a woman had no choice but to go to church, especially a woman of a certain age who was as yet untouched by marriage. Otherwise, who knows what they would say about you? A small town looks sweet from the outside, but not when you grew up there, not when everybody's got the dirt on you. Members of Georgia's family had sat in this pew for generations, since before her grandmother Big Sue changed the family name from Butts to Bottoms because she thought it sounded more genteel. Big Sue died before Georgia was born, but Georgia always felt grateful to her for the change. She was happy not to go through life as Georgia Ethel Butts. Week after week, month after year, Georgia sat in that pew, upholding the good Bottoms name, tuning out Eugene Hendricks's sermon to the best of her ability. She used those 55 minutes every week to think about her hair, her manicure, the dress in the window at Belk's, the heat versus the humidity, the phone calls she planned to return and the ones she never would, the ever-lengthening list of things she wanted from life. Georgia was not a bad person, really, but if it turns out they're really